You guys, welcome back to the channel. Kai Lavelle once more. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, share, comment, do your thing, right? So, as we all know, in the 5 boroughs of New York City, a lot of these buildings are shit. Let's just be real. The apartment buildings are shit. A lot of them. So, there was one that collapsed, or should I say the chimney collapsed. But then it makes you wonder, what about the rest of the building? What type of state is the rest of the building in? Let's go ahead and listen in and watch the footage of it happening.
Explosion here at this location. This is 205 Alexander up here in the Bronx. This is a massive NYCHA complex that spans from 137th Street to 135th Street. And as we turn up there, pieces are still coming down off this building. Let's go back to that video.
You can tell how old the building is just by looking at the brick structure alone. So if it looks like this on the outside, boarded up windows, sheets hanging from the window, air conditioning units in the window, obviously the building's in bad shape before that happened. But let's go.
That we just showed our viewers, which was obtained by Fox 5, showing the collapse. This was shot, we were told, by a resident in a neighboring building. It shows the top part of that chimney stack raining down. That's more than 20 stories high and came crashing down to the ground. It is an absolute miracle at this point that nobody was hurt. An FDNY source says they went over surveillance video to see if anybody was walking in that area. There was one gentleman that they saw, and they say even that person has been accounted for. So at this point, there are no injuries to report. Now, 2 apartment lines in that building are fully evacuated as officials are trying to figure out whether or not the building's structural integrity still stands. Here's part of what Mayor Adams just said now after being briefed here at the scene.
I'll say this. A lot of these buildings, this is the East Coast. So let's say back on the West Coast, which is home of earthquakes, known for earthquakes. I'm talking about from Washington State. Well, actually starting from Canada all the way down to SoCal and even into Mexico. That's earthquake territory, right? There's not a lot of these buildings. If there is, there's not a lot left, if you know what I mean. Because most of the buildings, especially in places like California, the large cities, San Francisco, LA, there's not a lot of buildings like this. Or should I say projects like this. And see, most of the buildings that are like this, apartment style complex that are like this, they're newer. Back in the day, they knew not to build these type of structures along the West Coast because of earthquakes. It'll just crumble down. So it was safer to build these type of structures in places like New York because they weren't known for earthquakes. But there have been earthquakes in New York, but just not like they are in the West Coast, California preferably, right? So this is more of the living style now, more of a luxury style. Lux apartments, these are how they're building these apartments now in California. Large luxury units just stacked on top of each other. 50-story unit buildings. It's really interesting.
Still dangling on its own without support, and that is one major piece of work that needs to be done, as this will have to come down and has to be removed carefully.
And another thing about the newer buildings that are built like this, the newer projects that are built like this, they usually contain central HVAC. So that's more of a luxury now. So these buildings that are still being built like this, they have central HVAC and they have their own washer and dryer in each unit now. So that's considered that's what makes up for a luxury apartment now. And with the cheap ass vinyl floorings and the office cabinets for kitchen cabinets.
Since it's attached to apartments, they can't simply just saw it off. As for the cause, the mayor pointing out today, October 1st is the first day that heat was turned on here in the city. There are some reports that people smelled gas prior to this collapse. That's being looked into right now. We also asked the commissioner of the Department of Buildings if there was current ongoing work being done on the boiler that sits directly below the point of collapse.
To be honest with you, all the buildings like this in that area need to be torn down. I know people need places to live, but a lot of these buildings are out of code. Let's just be real. And the landlords and management do not really care about the tenants in the building. They just want to collect the rent money on time, right? So whatever money's left over, they're not using it to maintenance the building. And it's been going on for decades. That's why there's a lot of decay in these buildings. There's a lot of mold. There's a lot of rodents. And people are so desperate to live in these areas that they'll pay the crazy rent for a unit that's out of date, appliances from the 70s, just as long as they could get in and say, look at me, everybody. I live in New York City, blah, blah, blah. New York, Bronx, Brooklyn, whatever, right? So there's also an issue with gas lines in these buildings, right? See, that's another thing. We go back to places like California. A lot of these large luxury apartment buildings, they don't have any gas lines. They have electric heat. Like everything is electrical in these new luxury type apartment buildings now. So everything's ergonomic. We have solar, we have electric heating. Like everything is brand new. So then to preserve, reduce the carbon footprint. So these buildings are so old that there's like one main water boiler for all the units. That's crazy, right? So that means each individual unit doesn't have its own water heater. And that's even a bigger problem.
That officials told us that they searched this pile of debris, this collapse zone, with dogs to make sure that there were no victims, no one was trapped. And as Arthur just pointed out, thankfully, that does not appear to be the case. Take a look at the top of this building, though. Maura's going to zoom up now so you can get a look at that. And this is the top of a 20-story building here. It was opened in 1966. This is the Mitchell houses. And you can just see on the way down where those bricks fell, just from the top of that, where that shaft was when it happened. And as you come down to take a look at that.
You want to know the crazy thing? A lot of famous and popular rappers grew up in these projects. Thank God that they made it out. Some people wish they still lived there, which I don't know why you would praise to live in a place like this. But, everybody can't live the same lifestyle. Not judging nobody that lives in these type of projects, but I mean, good for whoever made it out. Some people are stuck here for everybody's life situations are different. But this just sucks, though, to live in conditions like this.
We want to show you where it ends up, because once we get to the full look of that, you'll see that the debris fell right on top of a playground. And given that this happened at 8:10 in the morning, thankfully, there were no families out, no one with walkers trying to see the kids. We know that the older kids were in school, of course, but it is absolutely a miracle that no one was injured. Nonetheless, we spoke to some of the residents who described what they saw, who told us what they heard, and just take a listen to what some told us earlier.
So I was in there with my 3-month-old, and you feel like you feel the explosion happen. You can smell it slightly, you feel it. I look outside the window, I see people, they staring at the building. Again, it happens. You start to see smoke. People is like standing down, they going like this, they like, get out, the building is collapsing. So instantly, I took my 3-month-old, panicked a little bit.
My mother was in the building. I got a call from my sister. They were panicked. They were surprised. They heard a big boom. They don't know what happened. They heard that maybe a car broke into crashed into the building.
Yeah, that's the first thing you would think. When you hear a loud explosion and you live in the building, you're like, oh, either a tree fell on the building or somebody ran into it. And if a car ran into that building, they'll be dead, because running into a brick wall, you're dead. Running into a concrete wall, you're dead. This new cheap shit that they use to build the buildings, maybe you'll survive. Because these new buildings, back to what I was saying earlier, California allowing all these new permits to build these skyscraper project luxury apartments, they're made out of cheap materials, right? So, I mean, just think about how bad you could damage from a crash. Anyway, I'm going to leave the link down here to watch the full thing, but yeah, this is unfortunate, you guys. But a lot of these buildings need to be torn down because they're not even up to code to begin with. But being that there's so much going on in these large cities like New York, they can't keep up with all the code violations because they have other things to worry about that they think is more important. But it's like they need to get on their job about these code enforcements, enforcing the landlords and property management to fix what needs to be fixed. This is Kai LaVale. I'll catch you in the next video. Goodbye.